Welcome to Show Studio's fully digital live panel discussion. This season, experts from all parts of the industry will discuss and debate the most important subject affecting the fashion industry. My name is Pierre. I'm Love Magazine's fashion editor, actually senior editor. And today we'll be discussing Milan Fashion Week in the midst of a pandemic. Here's my lovely panel. Please introduce yourself, guys.
I'm Thomas Kwofie, and I'm a freelance stylist based in London.
Oh, hey, my name is Icy. I live in London, creative director of a few brands and mostly known for my YouTube.
Hi, I'm Luke Meagher, and I run the fashion YouTube Haute Le Mode.
Hi, I'm Hannah Diamond. I'm a musician and a visual artist.
Hey, I'm Nat. I'm the founder of Prada Archive, the account on Instagram, and I'm also a DJ and work in music.
Great, thank you guys. I guess I'll just start with asking you what you think of the Digital Fashion Week as a concept.
I personally think that is something that works because I don't really think that like something like that is gonna happen again, as in like hopefully in our lifetimes we're not gonna get into a pandemic again. So having designers being challenged on giving a whole fashion show not in the traditional way, it was interesting for me. Like I actually personally liked people putting effort into like the whole digital fashion show more than designers that actually did traditional shows kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it works because again, like it's not gonna happen again. And we're not gonna see it again unless like this coronavirus like extends for like other 5 years. But again, I don't really think so. So yeah, I did enjoy it. How about you guys?
Thank you. I thought it was specifically quite interesting that everyone was sort of like forced to like really think differently about how they were going to present everything, because I feel like, you know, like the traditional sort of like blueprint format of like showing clothes has been the same for so long. Like there's not really been like something that has really forced everyone to switch things up dramatically and think differently. And I do think that you know, that this kind of like new way of thinking might actually feed back into shows where if things go back to normal or when things go back to normal, I think people will start to rethink about how they present things, which is actually exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, no, you go, Kwofie.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I totally agree. Like the fact that we've lived in such a traditional like method of like presenting clothing at fashion shows, and like personally attending it, it's always been about like the gathering, the community coming together. But to see how like they've had to really change their format during like this pandemic, like I see it as like the OGs and like the older generation had to step aside and give younger creative individuals more creative freedom to really express the clothing that they want to release. And I think that's the direction they should go forward in the future. Like give the youth like more control with the creation of like how they present the brand image, for example.
I feel like as a fashion critic that sort of like is reviewing stuff on a constant basis where I'm not going to Paris, I'm not going to Milan, I'm very used to sort of like a digital fashion week, although everybody else sort of isn't. And I feel like this season specifically has really forced a lot of brands to bring their own narrative to, you know, the people and the audience in a way that normally they sort of allow critics, photographers, all, you know, the fashion shows in general to be that narrative. It sort of like forced them to put a language and put like a conversation out there about their work, which honestly was kind of nice.
Yeah, I think it's because the audience has shifted though, you know, like normally it's kind of about who goes to the shows. When you go to the fashion show, like IRL, like all the people that are there, they're sort of like industry specialists, like magazine people, press people, PR people, buyers. But actually when you're presenting the collection online, it's like almost like all of your clients and all of the people that buy the clothes, all the people that aspire to buy the clothes are now watching this space and this spectacle that you're presenting to them. And I think it's even more important to communicate that effectively because it's going to such like a wider audience who aren't necessarily like fashion industry like insiders type thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's been exciting to see like brands and, you know, teams, the creative teams behind brands kind of work with like not being bound by having people at a show in a traditional sense. You know, it's not like you can work with like scale, you can be working in different locations. on like a much bigger scale, and like you're able to just kind of go off like really creatively in how you're presenting the clothes. And yeah.
And do you guys think it was a great way to put everyone kind of on the same level? Because obviously when you present something that's 2D, you have a lot less ways to showcase the clothes, and you don't have the big budgets of putting on a show in Paris or in Milan. So how do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I actually thought about that quite a lot. I noticed how I think as a photographer and creative director, I can sometimes like tell what kind of budget was spent on things based on the jobs that I've done. And I think it was actually really interesting to see the brands who, you know, have smaller budgets actually making things that look like they're on a similar level to some of the big brands, and then also some of the bigger brands sort of like really falling flat with what they made, I felt as well.
Yeah, as Anna said, I feel like at the end of the day, like anyway, like if you attend to like a fashion show and you do see like buyers and stylists and like fashion industry people, realistically, like the clothing that are being like showed, they're gonna go to the audience that is at home, sitting at home, that is gonna see all the looks or whatever on Vogue and stuff like that. So again, I repeat that I did enjoy the people that did put the effort. Like whether it was like a high budget or not, I feel like, for example, like giving out like a traditional fashion show just for this year at least, it was not the one. So yeah, I did enjoy it, 100%.
Like
If you have the resources, I think you need to explore and see what you can do, even if it's like exploring other mediums, like doing a short film or something, or making it more like musical, or it's the time now to go like explore different avenues when trying to do something else.
And like personally, like me, because I've been documenting like the whole culture shift going to the fashion shows, and like fashion shows, like going to the shows and etc. and people attending, it's more being about like the hype. Like, okay, so these people are going to the show and they're wearing stuff that's not even out from the show, like creating so much hype on social media from that. And now everything's been digitalized. Like everything's just back to normal now, you know what I mean? Everyone has to start all over again and like try and present their clothing differently using the digital era. And like going forward, that's like the direction they're gonna have to go. And it's interesting where they're gonna take that from now on, because they don't really have that immediate like hype factor from like celebrities attending in these new garms and like paparazzi all over it, you know what I mean? So I'm excited for where it's gonna go.
Definitely, it's sort of like a reminder that like the world of fashion is all like a presentation, or like an upholding of an illusion of luxury and this like elite club and stuff. And I think when everything becomes like digital, part of that like spectacle and illusion sort of like disappears, and you kind of start seeing it for what it really is. I mean, for me, seeing some of the clothes in the way that they were presented reminds you that they are just clothes, and not always like this thing that when you see the show you go to see them and it's like I don't know, like it feels a bit more like a work of art or something when you see it in person and you have it in a fleeting moment. But being able to like rewind and look at it over and over again, it's sort of, I don't know, for me the illusion sort of fell apart a little.
Yeah,
I think it like separated the wheat from the chaff sort of thing, where if the clothes are actually strong, that's all you have.
Definitely.
Like there isn't, you know, what you were saying, there isn't that like celebrity factor, there isn't the big editors and buyers sitting front row and sort of taking away from that. And even like the whole idea of like stan culture, and like a lot of brands sort of build off of their celebrities, and the celebrities fans sort of build in and watch the live streams of the big shows and all of that stuff to see their celebrities sitting front row. But now it's about the clothes. And if the clothing isn't good, if it's not strong, if it's not something interesting, it's not something new, it's not something even desirable to be bought, it sort of is like, oh, well, that's very sort of clear and obvious and apparent. And I think it's sort of maybe a wake-up call for a lot of brands to say, if the clothing isn't good, like what's the point of us all doing this?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It strips it right back, literally, as you said, right down to the clothes. Like that's it. It's the prime reason you're watching the show. Strips it back, I guess, is the main thing.
Right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the brands who did really well, in my opinion. Let's start with Prada. What did you guys think of the Multiple Views project? The show that never happened, I think it was called.
Yeah, I personally really like the Prada show. I felt like for me, out of a lot of the collections that I saw from the Milan shows, the clothing for me was most memorable. I really liked some of the white sheer jackets and the little shorts. For me, I really liked those.
I mean,
Yeah.
like,
No, go on.
I was just gonna say, but like coming from like a new approach to like the fashion like industry, and like my kind of like seeing of like kids I'm around that are like graphic designers, wherever, I've seen like that kind of Prada style, what they've done now for the show. I've seen that kind of like style and that kind of like digital era already being done, and to see Prada, an actual fashion house, adapt that to their show and say it's actually okay, it's crazy, because now it's like all those kids I'm surrounded by now have a chance to actually get a job and like make a career from doing something that Prada says, you know what, this is dope. You know what I mean? And it's really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't really go wrong with the direction I think Mutu's taken it. It's kind of, it's a nod to the era of like the mid to late 90s and the early 2000s in how minimalistic it is. And, you know, bringing back the nylon once again, like, I'm sure people want to see sometimes like the boat being pushed out a bit more, but as I said, I'm fine with it. You know, they're classic pieces, and she's just like refined the classics really. So I think it's a really nice collection. And then with the sport aspect, the Linea Rossa aspect to it as well. I think it's really nice.
It was I didn't really watch a lot of the films and stuff because I feel like just in general for me, there's so much content to sort of, you know, digest that it's hard to, you know, do that and also then look at the clothes and think meaningfully about the clothes. But I think it was probably one of the stronger collections, menswear from Prada, that we've seen recently. And like what you're saying about the sort of mid to, you know, late 90s, it really was like a callback to that, even to the point where like the ugly chic that Miuccia developed, even one of the knits, there was that like beautiful pink knit, and they have these like awful sort of long john like tights underneath. And even though it was really subtle, it's sort of like that little nod and that little bit that she's sort of saying like, hi, I know you're all watching. I know you all love this. Here's a little moment for you to enjoy. And I think that's sort of why we all like love Miuccia.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Go ahead.
Well, I thought it was really stoic. You know, there was something really harsh about this collection, but not in not in the typical sense of the word, but more in a kind of classicist almost way about it. You know, the white shirt and the tie. It felt very, very much like a collection for people who would dress a certain way or have a certain jobs, like, you know, the banker, the usual cliche of fashion, you know, the lawyer. But at the same time, I feel like it was maybe kind of like a, you know, going back to basics as well, like you guys have said.
I personally love that, like the whole minimalistic like style used for the whole show, and then you've got like that, and then all the creative direction around what was going on around the models. It was like a lot going on. So you've got like clean clothing, and then you've got like at the beginning of the show, literally like I thought I was like in a Black Mirror kind of like episode, or like what was there, like Us? I think there is a photographer, Willie, him, that did shoot Lupita, and the music that they were using at the beginning for the first like 3 minutes is the same music that they used on Us, like the movie, which is like a sort of like horror movie. So when I first got into the show, I was like, wait, what is going on? Like, it was actually like really interesting. But then, as you guys said, the clothing were like really, really like simple, nylon, everything like really like looked clean. So I think it did balance like really, really well. Like I loved it. I loved the show.
It's almost like cinematic, and they've tried to make it like immersive in that sense. Which is obviously an interesting direction to go to now, but it's very necessary once again, considering no one can be there. Yeah.
And it really dress up as well. You know, we've talked a lot about the death of streetwear. Do you guys feel like Prada is trying to go into that specific direction as well, because those boys were really dressed up. And when they were wearing sportswear, it was actually clothes, garments that you would wear playing tennis, or you would wear, you know, jogging.
Well, it's always been, I mean, yeah, I think it's like a thing of meshing together the luxury brand and the sportwear and the more modern kind of like aesthetic as well. I mean, even going back to when Neil Barrett came in as the menswear director at Prada in 2000, that was his thing. He brought in like into all the like athleisure and all that kind of sportwear. So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say they're like, they've been doing it kind of since the early 2000s anyway, and it just continues to go on, especially with Raf coming in now. We know how prominent he is in streetwear, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes next. But
that's what I was heading to. There was a few glimpses of Raf Simons there. Yeah. You guys noticed that?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And let's jump onto, I kind of want to talk about Philippe Plein, but I don't think we want to talk about
You know what?
Sorry.
Can I say something?
I have some opinions about it.
I would love to hear someone's opinion, but yeah, let's just talk about Philippe Plein. We don't have enough time for that.
I love that.
There was a little bit of, you know, the big talk of the town was Etro having an actual physical show. You know, reactions on Twitter and people from the industry finding it very irresponsible. Even sure they had social distancing measures in place. What did you guys think about a brand, you know, desperately showing a resort collection physically instead of doing the digital game as everyone else?
It made me feel quite uncomfortable, actually. Like watching it, it made me wonder like how much they really cared for all the people that they'd invited. And I don't know, it really didn't sit that well with me. Especially when you see how much effort a lot of other brands went to really like switch things up and make sure that like their guests and the people that work there and the models and everyone was sort of safe and stuff. I was also surprised they didn't have like a thing at the end. I know on the end of the Versace video, it said that everyone who wasn't wearing a mask had been tested, and it was clear they wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the way that they'd done it was safe. But yeah, something didn't sit quite right with me with it.
You know who did like a really good job of like doing a physical show? Jackie Muse, like Simon for Jackie Muse. He done an amazing job. Like what he done was he done a physical show, live streamed it, and like he made little pods in the fields that were like 2 meters apart, and it was only for people that made the collection. And I thought that's how you should do it if you're going to do a physical show, like during these times.
The other thing is, I think just jumping back to Prada, the way that Prada shot it, I presume that there wasn't anybody on that sort of runway, or even if that was a runway, however they shot it, it seemed like it was a runway show, but there wasn't a front row sort of, you know, aligned alongside it. So it gave you that element of like a fashion show, but at the same time, it seems a little bit more safe, but also, you know, Etro didn't do that. The other thing is, there was no face masks on the runway. Like as the fashion industry, I think we are the people that are poised to make masks sort of chic and elevated and not scary. And I mean, being in the US, there are a lot of people that feel very badly about wearing a mask. And it's like, I think as fashion people, it's our job to show through imagery and, you know, through fashion. And Etro is a great example of doing a lot of prints, like make printed face masks, put it on the models, you know, keep them safe. It doesn't matter that the models, they're still walking without masks through a group of people that they don't know. And I just feel like there's so many steps that could be taken to easily profit off of the sort of mask situation to, you know, make everybody safe. But that really wasn't done by Etro whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know that I've seen Balmain has done a mask. They're obviously very Balmain, very Olivier Rousteing, bling and, you know, out there. But I haven't seen many brands actually doing them. But yeah, just talking a little bit about Etro again. Anyone has anything to say about the fact that they staged that runway show? Then we can just move on to the next thing.
I mean, like when Veronica was like speaking, she was like really, really optimistic about like the whole world and about like the whole situation. Like she was speaking about how, yeah, there is a pandemic, but again, like they would have done anyway a traditional fashion show and everything with no masks, and like probably even if it was not really like safe to do that with like people sitting next to each other, because like again, like she was like, oh yeah, there is a pandemic, but yeah, we're gonna get over that. She was kind of like careless, but at the same time, I feel like that was a bit brave to do, because again, they do know that they are like a big brand, and they should maybe like put like some safety, like I don't know, measurement, but they still chose to like not do that. They were like really, really like, yeah, like just optimistic about like the whole situation, about the whole virus, about like even like just doing a normal traditional show. So yeah, I don't even know how to like take that really, but yeah.
And quickly, there was also another issue, because we are in the midst of a pandemic, but we are also talking, and we've been having a lot of conversation about systemic racism, and a lot of people were saying that, you know, the people who were invited to the Etro show where, you know, most of them were white, and that was also a problem for many people. What do you guys think about that specific issue?
I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, they should have went ahead and not done what Dior done, but like at least add some culture in there. You know what I mean? During like times like this, where it's like a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Now is like a really good time to show example and show like what you stand for, and like I just thought they didn't do that.
I personally feel like Italy has a long way to go. Like I'm Italian myself. I was born and grew up in there, and I lived in there for 20 years of my life. And I do think that again, even if like BLM was like a really, really popular, let's call it like that, topic during these days, not to be that guy, but I feel like at the end of the day, to them, even like people at Etro, they didn't really like care like that, but just specifically because again, like they are just Italian really. Like that's how they are. And as country, they are really, really racist.
There are two brands I feel did pretty well in showcasing their team, and that's Gucci and Tod's. Did you guys see, what do you guys think of the way they highlighted their team? And I mean, they kind of didn't have a choice, but they are the two brands that I've noticed who, you know, that really wanted to highlight the people behind the scenes.
Yeah, I love the Gucci one. More just because I felt like this digital format was like a really good chance to show like the story behind the collection as well. And I felt a lot of brands sort of didn't maybe realize it. They were still focusing on like creating a digital version of the traditional show and missing out all of the stuff that their audience or their like people who buy things would maybe want to know more about. And I feel like Gucci told the story of the collection really well, and it was really interesting to see everyone who was a part of it, because I feel like everyone who works in like fashion brands like making this stuff are like really under recognized. Like nobody ever sees them. They're very sort of like hidden behind the scenes, and I think that was a really good chance to show appreciation, especially when all of them have been working like really hard, like when all of this stuff has been going on as well. I think that was really cool.
It was nice to see that, like for Gucci specifically, that because I unfortunately didn't really get a too good of a look at Todd's, but the fact that there were the actual designers, production assistants of all different aspects of Gucci actually wearing the clothing in their lookbook and in the live stream, it just felt like, I think a lot of people would say looking at Gucci runways, who would wear that? And it's like, well, at least we're seeing that the people that are designing it, making it, and are a part of it are wearing it. They evidently believe in it enough to put it on multiple different times and try it on and, you know, smash together some patterns and, you know, aesthetics and styles. So in that regard, it was nice to see that the team actually believes in it.
I mean, when I said Todd's, it wasn't so much about highlighting the team, but I think they brought it back into the context of where the clothes are made, because obviously craftsmanship is super important for those luxury houses. And they had their lookbook shot in their, I think it was their factories actually, if we can have that up. And I thought it was kind of a nice way to remember people that, you know, luxury takes time and you need, you know, facilities that can provide necessary ways of producing these amazing clothes.
Yeah, I've noticed a few. I mean, Prada did that as well, shooting it in-house and kind of looking inward. And I think Zegno as well. I've seen a few brands seem to have shot and made things from their like headquarters. So it's been interesting in that way to see that happen.
So
yeah, behind the scenes almost.
Yeah, exactly.
And format aside, digital fashion week aside, what collection in terms of clothing did you guys feel was the best or was really exciting? Not much.
Yeah,
Prada for me. Yeah.
You know what? I feel like because of this like digital age we're in, like it's still new to us, and I feel like it only really appeals to those that are really like passionate towards it. Whereas like people like I'm a YouTuber and I run like 2 other brands. And I'm doing this and that. Like I'm busy. I don't see everything, but like I'll see shows now and then, and it's not really key clothes. I'm like, yo, I want to buy that because the pandemic is like, raw. Like if we go into a recession and I'd bought clothes instead of saving my money, so it's like it's an issue. Like we don't know where we are right now, where we stand, and like fashion's like not primary concern. So seeing if they had like adapted and had models wearing face masks, like yeah, that would be cool, because then it's like, okay, I might want to get a cool face mask and I need it because I can't go and catch an Uber without a face mask, you know what I mean? So they could have done it in different ways, but nothing really stood out to me.
Yeah, I feel like they should have like tried to work a bit more towards, as Kwofie said, towards the fact that like we are like in a pandemic. But then at the same time, I was thinking about it from their point of view. It was like really, really difficult in terms of like production and everything to like create and like have like all the clothing like sorted. So I do even think that some brands even used stuff that they didn't use in previous maybe like collections and stuff like that. So I don't think this year it would have been great for any brands in general, because like again, like you've got Corona, you've got
it would have been so difficult.
Was that?
It would have been so difficult, and like
yeah, exactly, yeah.
About how things were in Italy at the start as well. I know like lots of the factories closed, and closed for a long amount of time, and just like trying to get things like even like put through must have been like so difficult.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I was not really impressed by any particular one. Really.
Yeah, I'm normally very adamant about if you're not going to show something new, you're not going to show something interesting, why are we showing the collection? But I think now looking at coronavirus, it's sort of like I have to take myself out of that mindset a bit, because there are a lot of brands, smaller brands, that are struggling to survive, struggling to sell, struggling to keep sort of purchase orders going, you know, struggling to even produce clothing. So there isn't too much that was exciting, but I feel like at the same time, I'm trying to give as much leeway to those brands, because as we said, it must be incredibly difficult to get all of that stuff produced. So while I'm not jumping for joy over it, I'm also not going to like tear it down and just absolutely destroy it, because I think we're all collectively like, I don't know what to do. How do we make this work?
Yeah, my debate with like brands like struggling is a case of like, if you weren't making much of a profit, like why are you still around anyway? There's so many brands, and I feel like other brands taking up all the resources and like all the manufacturers' time and stuff, that time could be used more efficiently by predominant companies and brands that are doing well. And like, I feel like designers shouldn't really force themselves to release a collection, but more so, you know what, I want to release a collection for this, and they should feel like they want to do something. And I like how like some fashion houses have left the fashion week calendar and are releasing stuff when they want to release it, when they feel like it's ready, instead of forcing out 80% of their like, oh yeah, I like it 8%, not 100% I like it, if you get me. So
yeah, or even feeling like they have to make like, I don't know, 90 looks or something to like like keep up the pace and like stay on schedule and stay like relevant as like a big brand or stuff. Like I think definitely it'll be interesting to see if more brands go the kind of way that a lot of the more independent, smaller designers have gone, where they are going off schedule and like making things a bit more sustainably. And
we're running out of resources.
That's the thing. Conceptually, you can only really go so far, which is probably maybe why we've seen so many collections go into like such a minimalist style. Because you can only really do so much right now with all the production companies, with all the production being slowed down so much and affected by the pandemic. So
And what do you guys think will happen in September and October? What are your hopes for September and October? Because we're going to go back, from what the news, looking at the news, we're going to go back into a normal type of fashion weekend. We're going to have shows. And what do you guys think about that after experiencing the digital fashion week?
I think it'll still be a process. It won't be just washed away.
It'll be a hybrid, I think.
Yeah.
Some brands will feel some kind of responsibility to keep people safe and may decide to, build on what they started this time, doing something digital or doing something more virtual. Others might be a bit more like, fuck it, let's go, like back to normal. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a strange transition.
Mm.
And in regards to Paris, because there's an age-old rivalry between Paris and Milan, and how did you guys experience both Digital Fashion Week? Were you more excited about Paris and Parisian brands or Milan? Because I kind of feel that Milan is always a step behind Paris somehow.
Yeah, like, I'm a big fan of Paris. Like, it's always been Paris in my eyes. It's down the road. Well, it's not down the road, but you catch the Eurostar, you're there. So it's like always being like, okay. And that's why I've also met like loads of amazing people, gone to amazing shows. So I'm always like more interested in Paris than more so than Milan. So I don't know. I just don't want these fashion houses to go back to normal. That's my only concern. I want them to do something different and keep it that way.
Yeah, same.
Do we have a little bit of time to speak about Versace? They invited AJ Tracey in a video, and they did something that was very Versace, which is, working with hip hop artists. Gianni was a big fan of Tupac, and he's always welcomed the Black community within the brand, the image of the brand. What did you guys see this? What did you guys think of it? Do you think it came at the right time, considering we're talking a lot about race? And how do you reflect on that?
I personally liked the whole concept of it. Again, I was not expecting it at all. And even if, as you said, anyway, because Gianni was like a really, really like even in general, like he was a really, really like big fan of like the whole like music industry when it comes to culture. I wasn't expecting it, but when I saw it, I knew where they were coming from. The only thing that I'm gonna say about that is that I wasn't expecting them to use AJ Tracey. Like, it was a bit random. Nothing against AJ Tracey. Like, he's a great artist. I just felt like they could have like used not someone even better, because again, like that's an insult, but just someone else. But apart from that, like, it's a really, really interesting thing. It's called Flash Collection. So like anyway, like it was not meant to show like 55 looks or anything. Like it was just like a something small, and I liked that. But yeah, I was just expecting maybe someone else in terms of like artists. But apart from that, like I feel like I loved it. I personally loved it.
And there will be, adopting the See Now, Buy Now, which didn't work a few years ago, and now they're going back at it. What do you guys think about that as well when it comes to Versace?
I mean, it's interesting. It's in their history, isn't it? It's part of who they are. Going back to like Puff and stuff, wearing Versace in the 90s. Like it's not a shock to me that they've gone back to it and then tried it again. On paper, though, like Thomas said, it does seem a bit strange that they've used AJ of all people, but I think it actually worked well, and especially with Anok being like the face of it, and that was great to see. So I think it was successful.
I really love a fashion collab. Like I'm always like really into it. It kind of reminds me of like the like early noughties when like all the pop stars and celebrities used to like be wearing like all the best brands, and like kind of like made you want those items more because you were seeing them in like music videos and stuff like that. And it also like added like a bit more interest to the videos, or like a secondary purpose. It definitely like kept me watching it because you wanted to watch it to see his performance, and it was like another thing to keep you watching it and also see how the clothes look like in that kind of setting as well. And whereas some of the other ones where they were just about the clothes, I watched a few of the videos where they were sort of like a conceptual film where it was just like people like laughing or like drinking in parks and stuff, and that just really sort of felt like you could just see right through it, and it just sort of felt like advertising or something, whereas this felt like something more fun and exciting to watch. But yeah,
I felt like this was like to a degree relatable, and that's why I loved it. Like to a degree, like he's from London, you know, and like he appeals to the he almost like he appeals to the young audience as well. That's why I kind of like this collab and why they chose AJ, because he adapts to the whole UK pop audience, you know what I mean? And his voice is almost like the future of like UK music in terms of like he has that young audience that's gonna grow up with him. And like Versace seeing AJ as like a pioneer of like his voice in his era. It's like, yeah, okay, nods to him, and we're gonna use him because that audience is gonna grow up with us as well in the future. And the fact that it's relatable, I love it.
I love that.
Bring a lot of people. Yeah, no, sorry, go on.
I really like the scene that's on the screen now where he's chatting to Donatella, but I wish they'd kept the sound on because I really want to know what they talked about.
Yeah, facts.
Like, what did they chat about? I need to know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the video and I'm just watching it now, but I think a thing that I have about Versace is I just wish that the clothing sort of would begin to evolve a bit more. I feel like with Gianni, like he was such an artist, such like one of the great designers of history. And I feel like the brand sort of has fallen flat since his death. And I just want them to bring in somebody who would like really sort of give the brand that oomph, that sort of like expertise, the technical design, the, you know, fabric development that he was so beloved and amazing and, you know, known for. And I just feel like I've seen a lot of the clothes and I've seen a lot of, you know, this sort of stuff from Versace before, and I want something a little bit new.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I think there is, you know, the Versace element that's still there, but maybe they're trying to obviously adapt it to today, but, you know, sometimes it's just kind of a miss more than a hit. I really quickly want to talk about, I know it's not Milan, but it's JW Anderson, what he did for his own brand and Loewe. He sent out boxes, and to me that was one of the most ingenious, brilliant, genius way of showing his collection. Instead of doing a video, he sent out boxes with all the information from inspirations to references to the lookbook to soundtrack. What do you guys think about this, him kind of disrupting, you know, the digital fashion by actually sending physical objects?
Yo, he killed it. He killed it. Like the fact that he made it tangible. Like when I saw that go out on Diet Prada, I was so jealous. I was like, that's such a like piece of our time right now. Like I have something tangible that represents COVID-19 fashion weeks and how it was conducted. Like, and like the whole, they played the vinyl, the paste part, it was genius. And I want to try and buy a copy, resell value, because that's how it should be done. It makes me feel like very important.
Speaking of resale value, I just saw that someone listed that box for $30,000 and they got an offer for $20,000. So,
Pierre, didn't you get one?
I did. I'm not selling.
Hi, Pierre. Yo, you want some Air Jordans?
But yeah, I feel like, you know, there was a lot, you know, that new word that PR coined. I don't know who did that, and maybe we don't want to know who did that. But phygital, you guys have heard of it, which is physical and digital. That was kind of, I feel, what JW was doing in a way, because there was the physical box, but there was also a lot of videos on the Instagram of both his brand and Loewe, and he nailed it. So for such an ugly word, he was able to make it work.
Give him a promo, honestly.
Yeah, let's give him a round of applause.
That idea of like what we were talking about before in the like, or maybe I was saying that, but you know, a designer actually like explaining their work, explaining the meaning behind it. I don't think we get that a lot from the designer's mouth anymore. And the fact that Jonathan like is so eloquent and is able to explain it to his audience and to customers, I think that's what, you know, we want in the future, or what we need from designers in the future. So it's good for him.
The clothes are exciting. They're innovative. You know, you can see that there is design. I feel like not many designers actually design today. Yes. You know, there's a lot of people who are champions of marketing and image, but when you really think of the clothes and how they can themselves make, you know, fashion evolve or go into a different direction, I feel like JW is really one of those guys. you know, it's alongside Kim Jones, I find what he's doing with Dior, for example. So yeah, I think we're out of time. Anything else you guys want to add about what, you know, this digital fashion week meant for you, and what you were probably expected, or quickly what you thought was shit? Actually, let's talk about things that were not good.
Philip Plein, bad. Loewe, JW Anderson, good.
Summary there.
That's a good. I think that's a good. Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you to all the panelists, and thank you for watching. For more extensive Fashion Week coverage, be sure to visit showstudio.com. If you're watching via Show Studio's YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below, and we will see you next time.